In this video, I'm going to explain how task dates are automatically calculated using Project Insight's intelligent scheduling. If you're familiar with Microsoft Project, our algorithm works very similar to that, supporting all of the basic predecessor relationships of finish to start, start to start, finish to finish, and finish and start to finish. We also support constraint dates on tasks where you can manually set a date. And I'm going to go over all of these methodologies. There's also a third methodology in that we support Agile and sprints, and that also can reschedule tasks, but I'm not going to go over the sprints today. This will be focused exclusively on projects that do not involve a sprint. What you're seeing here is a basic schedule from the task list with a summary task and 3 successive tasks, and then another summary task with 3 successive tasks. And you can see the relationships here. We have 2 predecessor columns. One is predecessor by number. The other is just a predecessor naming them. And in this case, I made a very simple relationship from 2 to 3 to 4, then 4 to 6, 7, and 8, all in sequence. If I go to the Gantt chart, you can see this relationship in this cascading way. And if I remove this relationship right here, you'll see that the Project Insight dropped that relationship and moved this task back to May 27th. If I rebuild a relationship here, now these 2 tasks, 2 and 3, both are after task 1, but I also can have this task going after both of these by drawing another relationship between task 2 and 3, and then now that pushed it out even further. And if I run back to the task list, you'll see now task 3 happens after 2 and 3. From here, if I add a brand new task and make it 1 day, this project happens to be active, and you can see it actually did something a little different than what Microsoft Project would do. You see, it's June 2nd today, the project started on May 27th, but it didn't actually schedule this task to be on the beginning of the project because this was created right now. And now the reason we do this is that if I were to give this task to someone to do, then you really wouldn't want it to be scheduled last week because it's already May. It's not May any longer. It's June. So if I look at this task list now, you'll see this floating out here above this original date because we're now already to this day here. Actually, we're Saturday, but it will not schedule back there. And the reason for that is the constraint of this task when I go to the advanced options is ASAP after task created date. That is a little different than what like a Microsoft project would do. And what the reason we do that is so that if you add a bunch of new tasks in the middle of your project, it won't schedule them in the past. It needs to schedule them today. But there also are other relationship types for constraints. So if you want it to work like Microsoft Project, you would say ASAP after project start. Otherwise, it's ASAP after created date. Then from there, there's these other relationships as late as possible, as soon as possible, start no earlier than. You can set them manually from this advanced tab, but you can also just manually set the date like this, and you'll note as soon as there's a constraint on there, you'll see a little arrow there. So I'm setting this out to be a week later on June 9th, and then I've got this relationship there to this must start on. And if I look at the Gantt chart, you'll see there's that task now. It's way out here because I manually set that date. You can also drag it like this to manually set the date as well from the Gantt chart. So those are some other ways to reschedule a task. If I want to check this constraint date, I can just click on here and it'll show me this is task 4. It has no predecessors and it has a must start on. I can remove it right from this layer. I can also edit that task and make another relationship like this. Now again, notice it has it's starting on this Monday because it has both a must start on and then a successor. If I remove that, it'll actually recalculate the task out further. You see, I removed that constraint. Or I can manually make that constraint again to just say, no, I really wanted to pull that back. And you may end up with a lot of tasks if you manually schedule them. You may end up with a lot of arrows. You can always go in here and say, you know what, I just want to remove all my constraint dates, and then it'll just clear your schedule. So I could manually push this task, for example, out to here. And now the whole thing is rescheduled out further out. And so you're looking back at that Gantt chart, you'll see now the whole thing starts much later here because I manually set that date. Or I dragged this, and then all subsequent tasks just got moved further out. So, or I can move it back a little bit, and now all these tasks are moved back. So you can move tasks on the Gantt chart like this, or on the task list, or from the Kanban boards. But just the reason that this is important is that these dates are not just manually set like an Excel spreadsheet, but they are actually calculated dynamically using intelligent scheduling. And there's a little more to it than what I'm talking about, but this just gets you the basics of how intelligent scheduling works.